I'm Bao, and this is Past the Closet, a podcast about the stories we don't always know how to tell and the power of finally telling them. Today's story is about something that started on a summer holiday vacation, the kind of thing that sticks with you even years later. And it's about two people. I'm gonna call them Joana and Melissa. So let's begin. Joana was the person that sent me the letter. And the names I have created, so their names are not actually Joana and Melissa, so I have just invented those. And I'm going to do my best to tell her side of the story and include as much detail as she gave me on the letter. Let's get started. Joana's parents were divorced, and they divorced at a very young age when Joana was very, very young. And she was kind of used to spending most of the time with her mom, and then on summer vacations of school holidays she used to go to his dad's place. So she spent the summer holidays there, and she would spend it at her dad's. And in there, the dad used to live in like a residence where she had a lot of friends and also some family members, and she used to hang out with them during the summer. So that means like going to the beach, having sleepovers, watching films, going to the cinema. And yeah, just mostly like a teenage lifestyle, really. So just trying to be a rebel. She discovered drinking and all of that. So she had just like a nice summer holidays most of the time, with friends and family. And she said that she was 14 when she met Melissa. And Melissa was the cousin of one of Joana's good friends. She didn't really live in the city. So the same as Joana, she used to come over when she had holidays. I suppose she was in college maybe. And yeah, she used to come visit her cousin, and they will spend most of the time in Joana's city. And she said that it was like a beach place, so it was like very summer holiday vacation. So people used to go there and spend the summer there. A lot of tourists and things like that. So she says like Melissa will go and visit her from another city. And this was the first time Joana met her during the summer. So she said that she stayed and started joining summer holidays after that. And not only that first summer, but the next and the following summers. And Melissa will go over to her cousins and so on. Joana says that she felt some sort of connection. She says that it was a different type of connection. She remembers that they used to kind of talk for hours and they used to text a lot. Joana was kind of pulled in pretty fast. She didn't really understand why, but something about Melissa just kind of got her attention. So there's an important detail there to tell that Melissa was actually 25. Joana was 14 and Melissa was 25. They were almost 11 years difference. That age gap is a bit broad. It's kind of talking to like a teenager and then thinking of like almost an adult. I think when you're 25, you feel like you are grown up already. So I'm not sure how this is gonna go, but let's keep going and see what happens. So at first, Joana said that Melissa acted very normal, like a friend when other people were around. But when they were alone, things kind of started to feel like a little bit different. She said that she remembered the way Melissa kind of will touch her arm and will touch her in the face. The way she looked at her, like almost like she saw something on her that no one did. It was kind of subtle at first, but Joana sort of felt it. At the moment, she still remembers clearly, and they were riding in the car with some friends and family. So just to say that I think Melissa probably drove. I guess that's kind of what she's saying here. So they were going to the supermarket to buy some stuff before going to the beach, and Melissa kind of reached out and touched her leg, kind of in a sneaky way. At the moment, Joana said that she froze and she was very nervous, but at the same time excited. She didn't know what it meant, but she liked the attention. She liked the kind of secrecy of it. I guess that kind of attention where you are that young and it feels like intense and somewhat confusing. I feel like that's the sort of state that it was. You want to believe that it's special, but you also want to make sure that it's real. So apparently one of those nights, that they were a sleepover. She said that it was pretty common that they would stay at her friend's house and, watch films and drink and so on. They said that they got drunk that night and everybody was having fun. They were all dancing and, chatting. And that night, a bunch of people kind of stayed over. And, as I said, they were all drinking and having fun. And she says that they used to kind of sneak out into the bathroom or whenever they could to kind of kiss and stuff. But everybody decided to stay that night, and somehow Joanna and Melissa were the last ones, and they ended up in the same mattress in a room full of people. So all her friends were staying in the same room, she says. Bed. Melissa started kind of touching her. They made sure that everybody was already asleep to kind of do that. And Joanna, she couldn't move really. She was just lay there, froze to death, but also kind of curious. So she just closed her eyes and she said that, she felt Melissa kind of touching her arms, her shoulders and her face and, some parts that I can probably tell here. But she said that she couldn't move and she couldn't make any sound. Obviously, she didn't want to wake up the rest of the friends. And at some point, she was kind of excited and at the same time, she kind of wanted more. But I suppose, she wasn't really confident, I suppose. It was like her first experience, so it must have been tough. And I guess it became intense, I suppose. But she says that she liked it and she was very curious and she wanted to spend more time with her. And she said that at the end, because they couldn't talk, they kind of kept in silence. Melissa sort of hugged her and, they just decided to go to bed. And they didn't really have the opportunity to talk. The next day, Joanna said that she really wanted more of that. She was curious and she really wanted to spend more time with Melissa, more alone time. After all, she was going to go back to her city, after the summer ended. So she really wanted to make sure that they spent time together. It happened. She returned home, both of them. So Melissa went back to the city and Joanna went back to her mom's house and everything continued. They kept in touch. They kept exchanging messages and calling each other very often until Melissa decided to tell Joanna over the phone that she actually had a girlfriend and that the girlfriend, it's been there for 2 years. And she literally dropped it like that, like it was nothing. What a shock, to be honest. Poor Joanna, that's the only thing I can say. Of course, Joanna didn't know anything about this girl. She never mentioned her. She never heard of her name and she didn't know about it. And it was like a big deal, obviously, because she thought that there could be something between them, between Joanna and Melissa. But she's been having a girlfriend this whole time and she never spoke about her. She never talked about her. So Joanna felt obviously the stupidest person in the world. She felt that she was used. She felt like a dumb person just because she felt that there was something special and she thought that maybe something could happen, But yeah, she was not the only one. And the only thing I can think here is poor Joanna, like really being 15 and somebody just breaking your heart like that. And also over the phone. My God. Anyway, so when Melissa told her that she, had a girlfriend very casually over the phone, it obviously crushed her. And the worst part is not only that, she had the girlfriend, but Melissa didn't really stop there. She really wanted to still keep in touch with Joanna, and she told her that. She wanted to still text, still call, and see each other every summer. The worst part is that she even started saying things to make Joanna jealous as well. So she will talk about the relationship, all of a sudden, how great it was, and she will mention the girl. She doesn't say the name of the person. This was just very cruel. Joanna was shocked hearing this now after all they've been through and all the amazing time that they have spent together. Yeah, Joanna kind of felt that, she wasn't ready. She felt that she was an idiot. And obviously, Joanna didn't want to see Melissa again. But Melissa kept calling and kept texting her. And she just kept pushing. So when you're 15, you always feel these things, you feel everything and you sort of feel that this is kind of special and you don't really know what to expect from a relationship. I mean, after all, it's your first relationship. So she said that it was really hard to push back on her and, that toxic behavior from Melissa. And I don't blame you. I totally understand how difficult it must have been. So I'm really sorry for you, Joanna. And it was really cruel of Melissa doing all of this to you. She said that she felt stupid, but she was in love and she just wanted to hold on her a little longer. And she kept saying that hopefully someday they will be together. Obviously, that was not the case because Melissa still had her girlfriend. Oh my God. She really thought that Melissa was going to leave her girlfriend and finally choose her, like the perfect scenario will have been that, but it didn't happen that way. She had her relationship, so I think the worst of the whole situation is that she was making her jealous, just kind of talking about her girlfriend and rub it in her face. There's nothing else to say here, really. So if I could say something, it's just really run the other direction. I said that all the toxic games sort of started, the jealousy, and they will be constantly fighting, obviously about the girlfriend and the comments that she kind of used to tell Joana. And basically, she didn't really want to let her go. It was really hard for Joana to let her go, and she knew that they will obviously see each other on the following summer, and she really wanted to hold on to that. At this moment, Joana didn't really know what love is supposed to feel like, and this was not for her. Joana, please. But this was her first relationship, and obviously she really knew that it was hurting, and she still wanted to keep in touch, but she felt that it was kind of dying at some point. Obviously there was also the distance in between them, but she's saying here that the next summer they met again, and it was hard for Joana to pretend that nothing happened, and that they were still friends in front of her friends. It was really hard to pretend, and she said that it was the last summer they met. Joana said that it was the last time they saw each other. Melissa will still come over her, and will try to still kiss her and pretend that things were normal, and she will start making excuses, and so Joana could forgive her. That's awful. That's an awful way of ending, really. She said that after that, they never saw each other again, so that was the last summer. She was crying most of the time, and she really didn't want to see her again. So I guess they still kept in touch after that summer, but Joanna's saying here that she almost thought of changing her phone number because Melissa wouldn't stop calling. But I think at some point Melissa understood, and they both went separate ways until I suppose Joana got over it. And I think for a relationship to end like that, it's quite awful, especially with your friends not being able to understand because they don't know that you are having this relationship with this person, and all you're doing is pretending. So yeah, having said that, she's saying here that she really felt bad, and it was the worst summer of all, kind of letting her go. The fact that Melissa was really pushing and trying to kiss her while she still had somebody else, it really didn't feel well. Obviously she deserved more, and she kind of understood that just only after months that it all happened. Again, they haven't been in contact, so they don't know about each other's life. They are blocked from social media, and they haven't spoke since. Wow. That was a very complicated story. So thanks for opening up and telling us about your story, Joana. Really, thanks for sharing. I really hope things are better now. I always say that there's something to learn in this sort of relationships when there's like a big difference in age. I'm sure there's also a lot of things to be said about it. So I don't know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments. What are your thoughts on Melissa's behavior? Would you have done something differently? And yeah, I know that it can be really hard, especially if it's your first relationship, to really understand what's happening. And the fact that you couldn't share with your friends, with people next to you, that must have been very, very difficult. Heartbreaks are really tough, so especially for the first ones, it just kind of hits you differently, I think. And when it's someone older than you and you don't feel like you can tell people about it, it just makes it even harder. So that's what happened with Joana. She fell for a girl who, as it turns out, was already in another relationship. Like, seriously, Melissa, what's wrong with you? Please. I'm sorry, there's a lot in there to unpack, and a lot to be said, especially when you're young, as I said, you're trying to figure out things for yourself. And I always say that it feels like when you're queer or gay, you're still trying to understand who you are, and then these sort of things happen, and you have to get through the heartbreak while also dealing, with the fact that you're gay and you're trying to come out, and it just kind of feels heavier in a way a lot of the time, especially because you're going through quietly, so you don't always have that person to talk to. So it can be super isolating, but Joanna, thanks for the bravery and for sharing your story. I really hope you're in a better place now and that you have found someone that makes you feel safe and loved and that understands who you are. And you totally deserve that. And again, thanks for sharing and for being real with us. So Joanna's story is complicated, confusing, but also real. And this is what Past the Closet is about. So there's no perfect story, but only honest ones. If this brought something up for you and you have lived something similar, messy, painful, maybe something that you never said out loud, you can share here too. So please just send us an email at pastthecloset@gmail.com. I'm Val, and this is Past the Closet. Thanks for listening.